I get a lot of bad emails. Not bad as in mean, but just super unhelpful. For example, I get emails that simply read, "Hello, I would like your advice on the med school application process. When can we talk?" That's it. I get several of these types of emails every week, and I'm left wondering, what specifically do you want to talk about? When exactly? Also, who are you? Or there's the email I like to call the mini memoir. Dear Mr. Chirac. Emails that get a name wrong almost ensure a facepalm. I was born in Cincinnati and recently graduated from college. I spent my whole life wanting to be a veterinarian because I love animals so much. Recently, after becoming a volunteer EMT, I've decided humans are more my target patients than animals. Can we discuss my chances of getting into med school? I'm not thinking, does this person want to apply to med school, or do they want to discuss if they should apply to med school? When do they want to talk? And also, why this story? I don't bring up these emails to embarrass anyone or to be mean or to get a laugh. I bring them up because I want you to understand how sending the wrong message, and I mean this literally speaking, can get in your way of getting the right response. A much better email would be, Dear Dr. Shemmassian, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Kim Gutierrez and I'm a second year student at Tufts. I'm planning to take the MCAT this summer and apply to med school straight through. I'm reaching out to schedule a time to learn more about the MCAT tutoring and application support you offer. My availability during the upcoming 5 days is as follows. All times EST. Monday to Wednesday, 9 a.m. to noon. Thursday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. In addition, I've attached my CV, which includes my GPA, so that you can learn more about my background before we connect. Thanks, Kim. Why is the second email the type that professors and other busy people crave? In short, it provides all the necessary information to avoid multiple back and forth communications, who this person is, their background, what they want to discuss, and their availability. In other words, it anticipates the reader's needs and questions. If you're wondering who Dr. Shemmassian is, well, that's me. I help students get into med school. In this video, I want to talk a bit about navigating how to write a good email to a professor, advisor, boss, potential employer, or any other professional. This might sound like a little bit like a non-skill, but the fact is, whether you're navigating the college admissions process, trying to secure a spot in medical school, reaching out to a PI for a lab research position, or simply navigating the process of requesting recommendation letters, there is one inevitability that links all of these processes together. You're going to have to send some emails. You're going to have to find a way to effectively connect with others and get them on your team, so to speak. And while this might seem like something we're so used to doing it feels like second nature, there are some key strategies you can follow when drafting those messages in order to actually get the response you want and need. Before we dig into the details, I have one ask. Please hit that like button so this advice can reach more people, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new videos. I wouldn't be shocked if you have an email buddy system with your friends or classmates. You know, where you send them from time to time an email or a text to proof before you send. It's not surprising that we do this. There can be some initial discomfort involved in reaching out to someone to ask for something. It's a balancing act. How can you be clear about what you need so that you're not belaboring someone with a guessing game while also making sure you're not asking for too much? Let's play pretend for a moment. I'm going to read you an email from a student to a professor, and I want you to pretend you've sat down at your computer. You're drinking a nice cup of coffee, and you're the professor. In other words, this email is in your inbox. Try to decide as we read if you'd feel compelled to respond or if this email is going to get buried in your inbox. Hello, Professor. I'd like to stop by and talk to you about the possibility of conducting an independent study with you about a research topic I'm passionate about. Your office hours don't work for me, so I'm wondering when else I could come by. I really hope to work with you. Sincerely, your name. Now, what do you think? Effective outreach or destined for the trash folder? Probably the latter, right? You might be saying to yourself, I'd never send an email like that. But the thing is, you probably have. It's easy to do, especially if we're reaching out about something we really want. In this case, the opportunity to work in a research setting with someone this writer respects. Sometimes our passion can have us typing quickly and eagerly. But instead of reading this as an eagerness, the recipient can instead get an impression of carelessness. What exactly is careless about this email? First off, unless the student and professor are incredibly close, doubtful based on the entire email, then they should be referring to the specific person and not a generic professor. So right off the bat, they've messed up the address in the email. This can be something easy to overlook because they think, hey, that's kind of minor, right? Wrong. It can be interpreted as not only a sign of disrespect, but of carelessness. You want to be as professional and respectful as possible, verifying the position of authority of whomever you're writing to. After all, if the student can't even correctly pinpoint the recipient's title or name, how much do they even know about them and or the work they do? These are questions the recipient might be asking themselves while reading, not whether or not they should consider meeting with the student to discuss a research position. What else is wrong? The student is vague about what their priorities are and what exactly they want. Do they want to conduct an independent study project, contribute to research initiatives, both? And what kind of research do they want to get involved in? Why would they want to complete independent study work with this addressee? What do they have in mind for their project? What exactly is the student passionate about? What's in it for the professor? There are so many questions here that need answering. No, you don't want to write your life story in your email, but you also don't want your reader trying to guess what exactly you want and need from them. This email also completely revolves around the student without identifying what they can really offer. There is no mention of specific strengths or contributions or even specific interests that should get the reader interested, so to speak, in taking the time to discuss the opportunity to work with the student. The student is asking this addressee to take time out of their surely busy schedule to just pick a date and time and make it work for the student. The student should be more specific about offering some potential times or asking if certain days would work so that it's easier for the addressee to compare their schedule and make something work. And it's a bit off-putting to phrase it, your office hours don't work for me. It's not all about you. It's not the way to endear yourself to someone from whom you're asking for something. Want to check your imaginary inbox again? This time, as we look at a new email, compare it to the one we just read. See if you're more likely to respond favorably to the new writer. Hi, Dr. Bonner. My name is Adam Kreitman, and I was in your Molecular and Cell Biology course, section 0056, last semester. I want to first express my gratitude for your course. It was, without a doubt, the most influential course of my academic career thus far and has truly helped me hone in on my passion for studying gene mutation. I hope your semester is going well. I read your new journal article on your recent CRISPR studies and was fascinated to catch up on the particulars of what you've been doing in the lab. Moreover, I'm hoping to schedule a time to meet to see what needs you have for additional help in the lab this summer. I understand you're probably extremely busy this time of year, but if your office hours haven't changed from last semester, I would be happy to stop by then. Alternatively, I can work around your schedule if you prefer a different meeting time. As I mentioned above, I found your class so influential in shaping my research interests, which is why I would love to work with you, and appreciated how constantly you reminded us as students to remember the human consequences of our studies in the lab. Though I don't have a huge amount of research experience at this point, I'm a strong collaborator, communicator, and quick learner. And ultimately, I'm happy to work alongside you in whatever volunteer capacity might be most helpful, even if it means data entry. I've attached my current CV in case you would find it helpful before our potential meeting. Thank you so much for your time and consideration, Adam. Okay, so this email is much better, right? It still has some flaws, sure. It's a little vague when it comes to specifying just what this student has to offer in a research capacity and why they'd be a valuable team member. I'm going to let you in on the saving grace that offsets a lot of the flaws here though. Graciousness. See how the student extending gratitude in the very second sentence? And then continues with well wishes before ever asking for anything, and then again reiterates an awareness of their recipient's busy schedule and commitments. All of this indicates a level of consideration and gratitude that should not just be instinctual for you, but that also goes a long way towards engaging your reader and making them say, hey, this person is really trying. It also helps that this email is brief, to the point, and extremely clear about what we're asking for. Moreover, the email includes a willingness to work around the professor's schedule, which preempts the need for an additional email about that. These sharp points help really focus our attention to what matters in the email, and there's a good chance it will help them get a foot in the door. On a general level, we're hitting on some really important must-haves that you're going to want to keep in mind when you sit down to start typing any good reach-out email. Specific and detailed language without being verbose. You might think that in reaching out to people, the longer the email, the more convinced they'll be that you know your stuff, that you put the time in to write them that long email and therefore deserve to get exactly what you're asking for. But the truth is, whomever you're writing to is probably extremely busy. So you want to anchor to concrete details, yes, but you don't want to overtax your reader with something lengthy they're going to have to weed through. You have to master the art of succinct specificity, otherwise known as the rule of the double S's. And yes, I just came up with that name. But give a couple of very brief concrete references and this will do the trick to contextualize your narrative for your reader without making them read your whole life story. We're appealing to the reader with complimentary language, thanking them for their time, for their specific contributions to our education. It's genuine, and this will make the reader more predisposed to want to help the writer. It also further supports why the writer wants to be on the team. Noting things like a shared interest not only further demonstrates the writer's awareness of the professor's work, it also begins to establish a common ground that will cultivate a sense of closeness, making it more likely that the reader will want to help the writer. It's important to be really clear about what you're asking for. You don't want your reader to have to guess or to wonder what kind of response you need. At the same time, don't necessarily open with this ask right away. After all, if we ask before offering any insight into why the reader should say yes, it lessens the likelihood they will say yes. After a brief introduction, jump in with exactly what you're hoping to get, and make it as appealing as possible. Note here that our writer is clear that they're expecting to work for free and they're also offering some insight into why they want to work for this professor. They are essentially framing the reader's response for them. All they have to do is say yes or no. They don't have to sit back wondering what exactly they can offer the writer. Offer some insight into what you can offer your reader. You don't want to force your reader to read through a hugely long resume. You can always just leave it there and note they can read it if they would like. But you don't want them to get a sense of why you'd be a valuable member of their team. Keep any information about yourself directly relevant to the position at hand, relating it to how you feel prepared to take on the new position. It's great to also offer a kind of bonus if you can, the kind of cherry on the sundae, so to speak, to make yourself more appealing. Here our writer is offering to serve in the lab in any capacity. Even if you don't have a tangible skill to offer, if you can add in any innovative ideas or goals that speak to what you feel you can contribute, it's a good idea to begin closing on a note that affirms just how valuable a candidate you are. A personal touch can also further demonstrate just how much you want to establish this working connection. The very last thing you should include in any correspondence is an expression of gratitude for your reader's time. This will remind them you are thoughtful, grateful, and aware that what you're asking for is a favor that requires collaboration between the two of you. Provide the necessary information to minimize the number of email exchanges. If you want to meet, list all of your specific availability over multiple days and mention a meeting location that is most convenient to the other person. If setting up a call, provide your best number. If they'll need to see your CV for more information, attach it. Bottom line, make it as easy as possible for the other person to accommodate your request. Of course, there are different messages you'll need to write. Not all of them will involve asking for an internship or a job position. As a result, yes, you'll want to adapt the format of your email to suit your audience. That said, there are some rules you want to follow regardless of the type of outreach you're doing. Open with gratitude and your why factor. In other words, not necessarily why you're writing, but why you're specifically writing to this person. If you're requesting a letter of recommendation for medical school from your chemistry professor, tell them why you enjoyed your class, why you want to have them specifically speak to your potential as a medical student. If you're reaching out to a company you want to intern with, tell them why you value the company. What interests you about the company? Always be specific and always surround everything with an expression of gratitude for your reader's time and the work they do. Don't open with your request, but make clear your reasoning so that when you get to your request later, readers will already have established a warm connection with you. Be concise. You don't want your reader to tire of reading your message so much so that they tune out of what you're asking for and leave your message unregarded. Feel free to offer some more information, however, should they need it, so that they can see you're happy to put in the effort to provide them any material that can make it easier for them to help you. Support your plea with evidence of why you deserve it. Be clear about what you're asking for. Preempt questions. Keep language warm and engaging, the same way you would if you were talking to the person in their office. You want them to like speaking with you. You want them to want to do you a favor. This might seem like a no-brainer, but sometimes in our effort to appear as professional as possible, we come across as cold. So when in doubt, express gratitude, express genuine compliments, and even make a little brief small talk to cultivate a warm and engaging connection. There's one golden rule to keep in mind regardless of who we're writing to, what we're trying to accomplish with our correspondence. Don't make it all about you. In his famous 2005 Kenyon College commencement speech, David Foster Wallace named the danger of relying on what he called our default setting, which is the idea that I'm the center of the world and that my immediate needs and feelings are what should determine the world's priorities. Now, we might look at that perspective and identify how immediately obnoxious and off-putting it is and say, there is no way I come across that way, ever. But in fact, emails, especially emails where we're asking for something, are one of the easiest and most common places for these default settings to rear their ugly heads. To reach out to someone immediately asking them for something they can do for you, or to even reach out to someone trying to convince them of how deserving you are, is just not going to work. Instead, craft your outreach around the idea that you're embarking on an equal partnership, and that you value your reader not just for what they can do for you, but for what they already are doing that has nothing to do with you at all. Yes, you want your personality to come to life and engage your reader, but you also have to show your appreciation and awareness to others. Alright, if you found this video valuable and you haven't yet hit the like button, make sure to do that now because, well, I would like it if you did. And subscribe to our channel so we can reach out with more content that could help you throughout your education and career. Finally, I'd love to hear from you, and not just through email. Feel free to touch base in the comments, maybe with your own story about the best or worst email you've ever received, or if you're feeling really brave, a mediocre one you sent. I read every comment and respond to most. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.